Kindness and niceness are not the same thing. And when I say that, I don't mean in the sense that they're mutually exclusive, in the sense that you should be kind and never be nice, or that you should be nice and never be kind. But I think that it's more important that we prioritize being kind over being nice. Because I think that the definition of being nice is, at least in a modern context, is almost sacrificing yourself for the good of other people in every given situation. And I think that to an extent that's a good quality to have. But I don't think it's something that we should always be prioritizing over being kind. Because, when you constantly sacrifice your time, your energy, your efforts towards other people, then when you have the time to invest it within yourself? You're never going to have the opportunity to grow your own garden if you're constantly helping other people plant their seeds. So I think it's more important that we focus on being kind instead of being nice. And, this is something I was thinking about, but I think being kind is not necessarily about what you do. It's about how you do it. And I think being nice is not necessarily about how you do it, it's about what you do. So, when I say that they're not mutually exclusive, I mean in the sense that being a kind person, part of that is being nice given the situation. But I think that being kind is about how you do what you do. It's about putting others first sometimes and putting yourself first sometimes. But in every given situation, exerting love towards other people, exerting patience towards other people, self-control towards other people, gentleness towards other people, understanding towards other people. And I think that in doing so, we then allow ourselves to prioritize ourselves and prioritize other people at the same time. Because the Bible says that you should treat others how you want to be treated. But then that also means that you should hope to be treated by other people the same way you want to treat yourself. Or I think I may have said that a bit backwards. But essentially, if you're constantly exerting a certain amount of effort and a certain amount of investment in helping other people, then you should extend that same investment towards yourself. So when I said that kindness and niceness are not the same thing, and ultimately when I say that you should be kind and not necessarily be nice, I mean in the sense that you should be gentle, you should be self-controlling, you should be patient, you should be understanding towards everyone regardless of the circumstance. But in doing so, you also need to decide when you should be nice and when you should not. And that doesn't mean that you should be mean towards other people, but it's about what you prioritize. Because I think that we should prioritize others sometimes in helping them, maybe when we don't always want to help them. We should also prioritize ourselves a lot of the time. When other people ask for our help, we say, no, I can't do this. This is not what's best for me. So when I say that be kind and not nice, I mean that we should focus not necessarily on what we do, even though what we do is important, but rather how we do it. If this is an example that I came up with yesterday, I was talking to someone about it. And it was an example of, imagine you're in a classroom and there's a class full of people, but you only know 2 people. You want to work with person A, and it's like a duo class assignment. You want to work with person A, but person B wants to work with you. So I think that a nice person would then work with person B because that's what they want. But I think a kind person would recognize, okay, maybe this is a circumstance where I need to put myself first. So then working with person A, but then also extending a certain amount of patience, a certain amount of gentleness, and a certain amount of understanding to person B. And I think that in being the second scenario instead of the first, and by, almost letting person B down nicely, or kindly, I think that we allow ourselves to grow as people. We allow ourselves to put ourselves first while still extending a certain amount of love towards other people. And in doing so, and I think that if everyone took that upon themselves, then overall we'd just be better off as people. Because I think it's not necessarily about always putting other people first. It's about recognizing that you should treat others how you want to be treated. And then also treating yourself the way you treat other people. So if you constantly extend a certain amount of effort and a certain amount of investment towards the well-being of others, that's the same amount of investment you should exert towards yourself. So, I have a Bible verse that goes with the topic of this video pretty well. And I think, I'll just read it first and then I'll kind of explain my thoughts. It's taken from Galatians 5, verse 22 to 23. And it says, But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things there is no law. So I think, at least maybe in the way I'm imagining it, that all the qualities that were described in this verse is what it means to be kind, even though kindness is one of the qualities that was described. I think it's about having a certain amount of gentleness, a certain amount of peace, a certain amount of joy, and a certain amount of love towards other people. But almost irrespective of the action that you take, exerting that towards others. But then only being nice on occasion. Only putting other people first on occasion, and putting yourself first that same amount. It's about investing in yourself the same way that you invest in other people. And it's about exerting a certain amount of niceness to yourself as you exert to other people. So I think it's so much more important that we focus not necessarily on constantly sacrificing ourselves or constantly minimizing ourselves for other people, but rather maximizing ourselves, but then also doing it in a way that can embrace other people within it, in a way that empowers other people who are around us, in a way that we're allowing ourselves to grow as people. We're allowing ourselves to obtain the things that we want, but at the same time, allowing other people the love so that they can also almost benefit from your success. So, I hope you took something from this video. Thank you for watching.